Don and I are old friends, go way back. We went to the same elementary school. We're not going to tell you how
Right.
many dozens of years ago. But
Several dozen.
and um, but we've kind of that's kind of how we grew up, Don. We kind of joke and kid and make fun of circumstances and kind of get our way through
Yeah.
it with humor, comedy, entertainment, music, that kind of stuff. And that's part of my life, part of your life, always has been. But how do we flip the switch now and say, damn it, this is so freaking important? And and then what? What are your thoughts on these next several years? And before we break out on the other side, maybe with a whole new rework of society, and how messy is it going to be?
I think it depends on where you are. So, and I've mentioned this before, but I think if you're in the United States of America, it's likely to be extremely messy. Um,
Hmm.
we've got some historical uh, boogeymen that are going to have to be overcome to, tackle some of these problems. The mention of the word socialism, communism, anything that smacks of it, is seen as downright evil, in the United States of America. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be a requirement for some of it. Um, I do think it would be possible to make legal changes, things of that sort, that would, perhaps avoid that. But even that would be viewed a bit as, changes to, what corporations had to do, to earn, their restricted liability. We've talked about that as well. But if you're living in, societies like Europe, where they're used to a more mixed um, sort of economy and political structure, you know, uh, they'll probably be able to handle it, a little better. And by handle it a little better, I don't mean necessarily economically, but I mean socially. Um, U.S. is going to handle it economically just fine, the way they always do. We're going to roll. There's going to be enormous output. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Right now, AI is struggling with, basically their revenue and profit models. They'll get over that. Amazon struggled with their profit model for quite a long
Mm-hmm.
time, and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing okay. And I think the same will be true of the AI companies. So there will be plenty of profit. So the economy will be fine. The U.S. overall will be fine. But will it just be this really shiny, gold shell? You know, um, Covering a pile of, you know, elephant dung, don't know. And, we've talked also about, governments like China, which is much more, you'll do what you're told. Well, if they if they tell their folks the right thing, um, then they're going to be doing very well indeed, in my opinion. Um, and so far, they've shown a track record over the last couple of decades, anyway, of making really good decisions. Uh, Frankly, better decisions than, in my opinion, uh, better decisions economically than the free market of the U.S. has. So they seem to be more focused on, they have a longer term focus, whereas the U.S. has a very short term focus. Again, Don Query's opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I think uh, it's your opinion, so I can't say,
right.
but you're
Oh, sure.
wrong is basically what I say.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
uh, but I don't want to talk about China versus America. I want to talk about AI versus America and the American worker. And
Yeah,
I think what we're about to see uh, is it is going to be like you said. It's going to be the people working in offices, the knowledge economy, people working on their computers, things that can AI can do in a split second. So what we're going to see, and maybe I'm trying to play this out in my head, what this tsunami is going to look like
right.
is initially people who go out there and uh, make things, fix things, uh, put in a new garage door, replace your garage door, fix your plumbing,
Right.
build houses. They're they're not in the short term, they're pretty safe. I think we agree on that.
Yeah.
But the people that aren't safe are those knowledge workers, people who got that education, got that degree, picked up skills, or maybe just,
Right.
got their degree and now are trying to get out into the workforce. And their intelligence is being commoditized and it's going down
Yeah.
in price drastically, practically every single day. And so when your commodity is your brain and it's becoming less and less and less valuable, that kind of sucks. I mean, you invested, if you're that person from the time you were very young, you invested in this commodity right here, and it's no longer it's already we're getting there. It's going to become less and less valuable. And
Agreed.
so
And there's,
these go ahead.
I was saying, and there's also going to be a shift, that, people talk about how, AI is going to create jobs, and it certainly will. Will it create as many as it, I don't want to say destroys, but replaces? Well, they won't replace it. Eliminates. Um, I don't think so. I don't think that'll even be close. But there will be
Yeah.
a shift. It's funny. It's well, it's not funny, but um, I think there's going to be a shift away from the sciences, which AI is going to be doing extremely well, and sort of what used to be called, or still is called, the liberal arts. So what people now want to do, this vibe programming, they call it, are
Mm-hmm.
people who think logically, right? So all of a sudden, that philosophy minor that I had years ago, is going to have some value because it taught me how to think in a logical, organized fashion. Um, Now I forgot that long ago, but it did teach me at the time, and it would have been valuable. So those sorts of things are what you need now. You don't need to be that detailed oriental person, that detailed oriented person that you know uh, can grind out the code and everything. Instead, you just need to be able to describe the problem. It's almost like it's even above the level of pseudocode. You know, it's design work. So the great architects and designers, they'll be fine. You know, uh, but so there's going to be a lot of frictional unemployment, even amongst those who aren't quote unquote impacted. Um, the intelligentsia won't be who they used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. You know, let's rewind our lives many years, and let's say when you're graduating, and you say, "Look, I got this philosophy minor," and this company says, "Oh, philosophy minor. We've got AI now. We need people who can kind
Oh,
of think out of the box, understand the ethics of AI and all that." Uh, and you have a skill we really admire, Don.
yep.
Um, Tell you what, we'll put you in the queue with the 1,000 other people that applied for this job, and we'll call
Yeah.
you back when after we've gone through the 1,000 applications, which AI will do in a blink of an eye. So yes, it's nice, but it's the well. There's going to be no water in the well to drink.
That is exactly right. I mean, that's exactly right. This person, that's one thing really I should have mentioned. I mean, and you really nailed it. Um, that person doing the vibe programming, what I didn't say was he replaced 8 programmers. So, you got one left out of 9,
Yeah.
you know, and that's not coming. That's here. You know, Companies like Anthropic are discovering they can already do that. Google's
Mm-hmm.
already starting to do that. These firms are moving out. Um, so, and AI is not even here yet. This is just what it's shown it can do now. It's still got a couple of years to go before it really gets to a level where, it becomes, general intelligence. So, you know, yeah, there's a lot coming now and there's more coming later. And it's the later that in some ways is the bigger concern. The now is just, like recession, and we've dealt with recessions and things like that. The problem is what comes after that when AI truly becomes more capable than people at most things. Um,
Well, let me ask you this then. We kind of, and circling back to uh, like retraining. Um,
yeah,
and there's a recent article where uh, the big tech companies are contributing to a pool to help retrain
correct.
people. I say retrain. Maybe you're young and you. I don't even know what retraining means or training actually means. Um, and we both are a little bit skeptical of what kind of results it could bring, and maybe it's not even worth it. Maybe, like we said, the tsunami is so big, but maybe it's we need it to feel better. To when like I said, when the pitchforks come for OpenAI, they said, wait a minute, we gave $100 million for this retraining program. Okay, pitchforks put away, put them back in the barn. Uh,
We're the good guys. We were looking out for you.
yeah, we were ahead of this. We saw this
Yeah.
coming. It's maybe it's the government that didn't do their part.
Well, yeah.
Finger pointing back and forth. Um, I guess
But
too. This is where I've been in the the knowledge economy. I have engineering degree and did project
yeah,
management, environmental engineering for quite a long time. And so I feel like I know these kind of workers. I think same thing.
mhm.
These are not the people that grab the pitchforks, you know? Um, these are the ones that go home and play with their dog and take them for a walk and look at YouTube videos of cats or something like that. Um, these are not the revolutionary types, at least historically speaking.
No.
And so, do they just kind of fade away quietly? Uh, collect
Does
unemployment,
any
maybe? Hmm?
does anyone does anyone fade away quietly?
These people might. I know a lot of them, as I look back, and a lot of them are. I'm with engineers, so they say an extroverted engineer is one who looks at your feet when he's talking to you. So these, yeah,
But
yeah,
I guess, but the thing is, yeah. I mean, I had a 40-year career too, and I used to sometimes, almost laugh at some of the strife that would happen in the workplace because I'm just like, well, what's the worst thing you're going to do? You're going to let me go, and I'm going to have a job 2 weeks later. So,
hmm
gee, thanks for vacation. Um, but that's not going to be the case anymore. So there's probably going to be a few more revolutionaries than we
You
think
think?
there are. Yeah, I don't think they'll. I mean, the 50, 60-year olds, if they saved well, they'll go early vacation. I mean, that's what I did. I mean, I
Yeah.
moved to Germany and didn't go through the trouble of trying to get a visa or anything to allow me to work, and just said, I'm done. Um, but there are going to be others that can't do that. They
Yeah.
they bought the house in the suburbs.
hmm
They're hundreds of $1,000s in debt. This is a crisis. Um, so you know, and so those are both the personal effects and the follow-on effects. Because when that person loses a job and when they can't pay for their house, well, then that's another house on the market. We all know, what starts to happen is
Yeah.
that starts building up, and so you know, the economic impacts become greater. To say nothing of the personal, impacts to society. So,
So
um,
what does this person do? You were, you
did
weren't
you
part. Let me say, you weren't part of this large displacement of jobs from AI. You were kind of in a wave of, employment opportunities and, things happen, restructuring. We have recessions and whatnot, and so you kind of come and go and all that. But this one, like you hinted at, you're not gonna take your 2 weeks off and then go, oh wow, this job is actually better. Uh,
Right.
so
You're you're going to have to, I mean, those energetic and genius people who, frankly, I never was. I used to describe myself to my boss. It's like, bosses are always worried about the people below them. If they're better than they are, then they're going to take over things.
yeah,
The
true.
insecurity is remarkable, and I'd always just go,
Yeah.
"Look, I'm a king. I'm a king maker. I'm not a king, right? I'm just not the entrepreneurial type. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me what to do. Pitch, you know, pitch the meat into the cage. I'll chew it up. I'll spit it out. I'll give you the
Mm-hmm.
product you want. That was what I was. But those ingenious people, those entrepreneurs, they're going to be given some tools now that are going to be
Oh yeah,
powerful, you know, and marketable.
for sure, for
So,
sure.
like I said, there will be creation for some, but it's just that there are going to be so many replaced. And so the competition I mean, it's going to be a fiercely competitive time,
Yeah, fiercely
at all
competitive.
levels of society. And so how are you going to provide the safety net? Yeah, I'm the type of guy that always felt like if the government wasn't providing the safety net, then why the hell have it? I mean, it's a huge government in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not providing a safety net, what exactly is it you're doing? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I know that there's some safety nets right now in place, but they're not in great shape, and they're about to really be
Yeah.
tested at a time when they're not in great shape. That's the concern. That's to me.
So what? Maybe I'm a little ignorant on this. So what do you do? You've been working there 5 years. You have a job in a corporation you thought was pretty safe, but they're like, we don't really need you anymore.
Mhm.
You're 28 years old, then you file for unemployment, and then but that's limited. You don't have an unlimited time frame to collect unemployment, right?
Well, sorry to interrupt. During COVID, you did.
Yeah.
Um, and this would certainly be a COVID magnitude impact. So, yeah, maybe you do. Um, but that's a problem,
Hmm.
because again, how do you pay for it? So, and those are the sorts of things that we've talked about some of our other sessions. There are large magnitude things coming, and I'm happy that the AI folks are admitting that they're coming, and I'm happy some money will be spent looking into it. And I hope that it's not, a day late and $900 billion short. So,
Well, I just flashed to one of my soapboxes, and if if the money was there, government money, uh, like we had a war chest, we'd like, somebody smart, or this smart democracy that we're in, it said, you know what, someday we're gonna possibly come into something cataclysmic. We need to have a lot of resources set aside, money, and
maybe.
yeah,
Normally
and
thinks it's
uh,
a thought.
and uh, and then wouldn't that be just amazing if it was there? And we go,
Yeah.
you know what? We know a lot of people are going to be unemployed, but we've got this war chest here. We kind of planned for the gloomy day, and so yeah, if you need to collect unemployment for 5 years, we've got money to cover that.
Right.
Instead,
Well,
we've spent, and I don't mean this against sailors. I was in the army, so I may speak negatively, but I
we
don't
know
mean in
you
this.
mean it against
Drunken
sailors.
sailors. We've been spending like drunken sailors. In all
Yeah.
respect to the sailors out there, I admire what you do. Um,
Yeah.
but you know, we're just. I watched that debt meter trickle up every daggone day. We're at, what are we now, 29 and a but $1 trillion.
Right.
In 2010
So
we were about 10 trillion. 20, or not, yeah, 2020 we were about 20 trillion, and somehow in 6 years we've gone from 20 trillion to 39 trillion, 19 trillion dollars in about
Yep.
6 years. How the hell that happened, I don't, well, COVID, there's another
COVID was a big
soapbox.
part of it.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
another soapbox. But so now we don't have
Well,
the
we
money.
probably would disagree on that. I think a lot of that money was needed to avoid an even bigger economic catastrophe. Where we agree is not all of it was needed. So anyway,
Yeah.
but but we're going to
We'll
need
have,
something COVID safe, and we don't have the
yeah,
money for it. We already spent it
yeah,
on COVID, and COVID we didn't have the money for it because we'd already spent it on something else,
yeah,
and
we've been
blah blah
spending like
blah.
crazy.
So
And
here's the
so
problem. I mean,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say the problem is we are in the United States of America, and we are in this economic and situation. So who do you trust? You're gonna who's going to save us? Is AI going to save us? I mean, or I should say, are the AI companies, the Magnificent Seven, they're going to step up, and provide all the cash required voluntarily, with no changes to legal systems or political systems or anything like that. It seems unlikely, both from an incentive point of view and from, as I said, the legal point of view. They've got to do what they've got to do financially. So if they're not going to do it, then okay, who's going to do it? You can count on you can set up a charity or something and people can contribute to help with all the unemployed people. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe. Or are you going to, or is the government going to have to step up? And how on earth? I mean, what's going on with our? We're supposed to be talking about AI, but to some extent, this does come down to if you're going to talk about AI in the United States, you have to talk about the dysfunction of the government currently, right? You know, what's been going on? It was during our lifetimes, Dennis, we were actually running a surplus in this country. For 2 straight years, we ran a surplus.
Early
You
90s,
know,
I believe.
something like that. Yeah, I don't remember
Mm.
exactly the years, and now here we are. No, I'm not saying that there was no national debt. I'm just saying that the annual budget
Yeah,
was
yeah,
actually a
yeah.
surplus. We were putting
It was
some money
actually,
away.
it was in the early Bill Clinton years, actually, in the 90s.
I think actually oh well no, it was in the I think it was late his late first term. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, his early Clinton
Yeah,
years.
first term, early 90s. Uh,
We turned
just
around and immediately blew.
I
So
remember, I remember, Don, because I followed this stuff my whole lifetime. I remember, uh, there was Clinton wanted to do a stimulus. Um, Something was going on economically. Maybe we were on a coming back from a recession because I think with the Bush, not to go too much in history, but the first Bush, it's the economy, stupid. Bill Clinton was elected on that slogan. It's the economy, stupid, and he beat the first George Bush Senior,
mhm.
and so he came into office and said, we need to do a stimulus. We've got a recession. We were already kind of coming out of the recession, so the timing was perfect for Clinton. And but he says we want to do a stimulus. And I remember watching this, and the stimulus that he was talking about on the federal scale to stimulate the American economy was
Mhm.
in the ballpark of $30 billion,
Isn't that
which
hilarious? Isn't
I'm
that
like,
hilarious?
30 billion now. Hell, the IRS gets 30 billion.
$30 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion, 30 billion. Which, if you were to throw 30 billion at something, it's like a rounding error on.
It
So
is.
so the so you're right to bring it up, Don. Um,
But I mean, the
the
point is, how do we fix the dysfunction? Because it really it's going to have to be fixed, and to avoid the revolution, it's going to have to be fixed in a manner that the American people trust. And right now, the American people's trust in government is probably an all-time low. And I'm not talking about presidential trust. I'm talking about just government. Period is an all-time low. I mean, Americans trust corporations over government. Now think about that. That's really. I mean, I guess the one thing is you can trust a corporation because you know what it's going to do. It's going to make a buck. Yeah,
hmm
as many bucks as it can. So yeah, I guess that's true. I trust a corporation to do that. But for the welfare of society, do you trust corporations more than government? That would be I think the result of that poll would still be yeah, and that's sad. So that's got to somehow be fixed. So here's an interesting notion, and we've talked a little bit about politics before, and I'm running on as I always do, Dennis. So I apologize, but you know, what if we use this fancy new tool to fix it?
Fix the government.
Yeah, and so here's
Get
the
a
thing. Hey,
yeah.
no, it's something. This just came up in my squirrely little mind while I was on vacation in Africa. So here we
Okay.
are. Okay, we're gonna force every legislator, every senator, representative, president, uh, when they make any decision, so an impactful decision. So whenever they're voting, vetoing, executive order, etc., they are going to have to ask a trusted AI agent, and if they don't agree with what the said AI agent said, well, regardless of whether they agree or not, the result of their uh, prompt to the AI agent would have to be published along with their vote. Now, the second part is kind of easy because, records laws in the US require it, right? So anything you do in the research, any decision you make, et cetera, that's all got to be gathered up and put into records management systems, in government. So
Hmm.
that's not an additional ask. So you're basically just requiring them to use AI. And the reason why maybe, and this is a big maybe, people might be willing to do
I'm sorry
that.
to laugh, but I'm thinking of something. Go ahead, keep going,
No,
because
no, no, all
this
kinds of jokes in
creates
this.
this.
So,
Yeah.
but maybe they would because it's objective. Okay, so you got this. Instead, I mean, I think everyone can agree that. I mean, there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parties, in practically every other country I ever go to, and we got two
Hmm.
parties in the U.S. that ain't cutting it, and neither party really reflects, heck, 5% of the population, in my opinion, and then you got 90% that just sit around going, well, this is kind of what I wanted, or not. So how about some objective party that you think can actually look across all the different things, can have some forethought, can be strategic and focused, has the data points that it needs? That sounds like AI.
Okay. Um.
They're at least consulted.
Okay. So okay. Let me see. I'm. Let's say I'm the president, and I'm
This
getting
is going to
ready to do
require
an
a
ex.
12 gauge, Dennis, for sure.
Okay, but yeah. Okay. Shut up, Don.
I just mean, I know you're going to obliterate it, so bring a big gun.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like calling me a hick because I grew
No,
up in Southern Virginia. I
yeah, but I grew up, 10 blocks from you,
know,
man, so, it wouldn't do me any
I
good.
know.
And
Messing
I
with
think
you,
we did all right,
but
Dennis. I think
yeah,
that I think those
we're
Lynchburg
saving the
schools were
world.
better than people thought.
Yeah, we're saving the world in our old age.
One podcast at a
To
time.
Well, I think we're both so grateful for the lives we've lived. And this is kind of our way of giving back to that wonderful life that we've experienced from growing up in what at that time was a small town, Lynchburg, Virginia. Um,
Yep.
but here's the thing about what you say, because anytime you create a system, I was thinking about this, there's always a way to game the system. Okay. So in your circumstance, we have to consult AI to
Yep.
when we make big decisions. Okay.
Yep.
So here I'm the president. I want to do something. I'm consulting my AI. The AI
Yep.
says, well, Mr. President, that would have long term implications about to the federal budget and debt, and we don't think it's advisable that you pursue this agenda.
Right.
AI has spoken. Okay, but now I have to respond to the AI. So what do? I talk to another AI, and this AI then says, ask this, how can you explain to this other AI why I need to do this? Give me a good reason. So this AI says, well, it's an investment in the future, blah, blah, blah. So basically, you have two AIs debating each other uh, on this new way of doing something or your proposal. How about
Right.
this, Don? How about
Okay.
instead of that, why don't we just go straight to the source? Why don't we elect AI? We don't need
Um,
people. We don't need people in Congress. Why don't we just uh I guess we could make them droids so we feel
you're,
comfortable it's actual physical entity. Why not just elect an algorithm that says
what,
I like this way of doing things, and then you get
uh,
all the algorithms together to come up with a consensus?
you asking Don or you asking the American people?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, if you ask Don, I'm like, I'm all in. This, the decisions ain't gonna get worse. I'm
But
all in. And I don't even
well,
care. You can roll the dice on what model you want to use. The decisions are not going to get worse. I'm all in. But I
yeah,
don't think the
yeah, yeah.
American people are going to go for it. Okay. So that's why you have people in the loop. But at least the people
Hmm.
know that it's an informed decision. Whereas right now, I'm only speaking for myself, but I assume I'm not alone. I think these decisions are being made and they're all about money, power, um, getting reelected. Now, there are other things we can do about that. Obviously, it's not a political science show, but you know, um, anyway. So they're not being made for the right reasons. So you know, give give the prompt that was given to AI and give the results, and that way everybody knows what it was. You give it to them in advance, the American people, I mean, in advance, so that they can look at it and the talking heads can talk it over. And of course, they can talk about it from two completely different viewpoints. And so make it that they're both right. I get it. Yep, I get it. But still, it's more information than we're currently getting. And so maybe that would make it, uh, maybe decisions would get better. Maybe. Um, the other approach, and we've talked about this before, and lo and behold, I was watching a podcast the other day. I do watch them as well. Um, and there was a woman named Helene Landemar. And go figure, she was talking about the random selection of representatives,
Ah,
which
your idea.
we actually talked about previously.
Yeah, that's
So,
your idea, Don.
well, I thought it was. I thought I came up with it on my own. Turns out, no, I must have, during some philosophy or classics class, must have known that the Athenians did it. Okay, so actually, it's an
Hmm.
Athenian idea. And she's like, bring
Hmm.
back the Athenian idea. There were these people called citizens, right? You've seen it on TV, they citizen query, So anyway, um, there would be citizens and they'd be in the House of Representatives and they'd be randomly selected. So you would have, you know, plumbers and AI guys and CEOs and janitors and fire people and police people all working together in the House of Representatives, randomly selected, and they would do whatever term was decided. But they would work with people, the senators, to get things enacted, and that's how the system would work. And their thinking was that these people wouldn't be up for reelection. Uh, you know, um, I don't know why they wouldn't be cheated by the government that's pouring in, but so small, small rant. Corporations are people too is the worst decision in the history of legality. Um, so somehow we've got to get it out of the way before any of this really can happen. Because if money's going to talk, then AI is going to win. And
Well,
if AI is going to win, by win I mean they're going to get all the money, and the rest of us are just going to be hurting.
you're I like your idea, and I'm kind of glad it's being discussed in podcasts and circles, but it it's we're in the 11th hour, Don, and
Yeah, but it's
you're
going to
talking
require big
about
changes.
you're talking about rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Something before we go down. Let's actually
Well,
talk about, can we save this ship?
yeah,
I
that's the
have my doubts.
yeah. Yeah. Well, me too. I have serious doubts. I don't think we're going to be able to do it. But I mean, it doesn't make for much of a podcast to go, hey guys, stop working, use what money you have to do those things that you wanted to do in life, and make sure to take some master gardener classes because you're going to need to grow your own food. You know,
Why is
so
that not a good podcast if that's really what we need to be doing?
well, it probably really is what we need to be doing. And let's face it, we all know folks who are doing it. What I mean by that is, folks who are preparing for the zombie apocalypse. You know,
Yeah,
this won't be a zombie apocalypse, but it'll be a
yeah.
workless apocalypse. The preppers, I think, is the nickname, and they've been around for 50 years. But their time's a coming. I'm afraid,
So stay
unless
tuned on the
big
next
things happen.
our next podcast, Master Gardening by Don and Dennis.
where,
And then
where we tell you how
best
to char carrots for the ultimate taste.
yeah. And then how about best ammunition for a home invasion?
Yeah, exactly. But seriously, I mean, that's uh, so the point is, I think the fun part of the podcast for myself and others is to try to come up with a notion, even if it's impossibly large. And the only reason I keep coming up with these impossibly large notions is because I think it's an impossibly large problem. So we're not going to be able to fix it with the current constructs, I do not believe. And I'm not the only one. There are plenty of economists, philosophers, IT folks, all trying to figure out how on earth we're going to solve this huge wage problem that is going to be coming.
Yeah. Is it we don't really have a mission statement for this podcast. Is that should we be striving for that? Should we be striving to come up with plans and help people? Because I think it's important. I think as time goes on, we'll be proven absolutely right about our fears and concerns and how it will impact us. And I don't want to be all doom and gloom. The positive impacts are going to be incredible, but it's going to be that large swath, at least initially, of the knowledge economy people who are going to be like not. They're done. They're done working. So I
They're
don't know.
done
Where do
working
you?
in their area. So again, if they're clever folks, they'll find something that works.
So ten
That'll make
percent
them
of
money.
that wide. 10% of that wide swath are clever and will find something that might even be better, but the 90% are going to be in that morass of the
Yeah.
abyss.
Or maybe at best the 80-20 rule. So maybe 20%, but
Yeah,
I lean towards
20%.
your 10 personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do we so
No, I think I meant,
what do we focus on, Don? Are we do we need a mission statement? Do we need to say we're here to help, or do we just say we're here to throw knowledge out? Like, what was it? Ancient Athens, they had the Senate and they would talk, and not every conversation was solving a problem, let's say, but the conversations led to more conversations, which led to enlightenment to some extent, and propelled the society in meaningful ways in for thousands of years. Is this part of our goal here? Just to put things out in that kind of uh,
yeah,
like this dialogue, this debate, this Senate debate kind of thing?
I think so. I mean, Plato thought dialogue was useful, and I still think dialogue's useful. And, um, well, you and I aren't going to solve the problem. And even if we knew the solution, no one would listen to us, well, I shouldn't say no one, but you know what I'm saying. Not enough people would listen to it. They're not going to let us make these decisions.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable. I mean, we're providing entertainment We're I don't
where
think we should
the
credit ourselves.
where
Yeah,
the Titanic is going down, where that great
yeah,
scene, that they're all
yeah.
about to go underwater and they're playing the music, and that's Don and Dennis were entertaining you right before.
That's right. And if we want to have a mission statement because we think we should only play classical music on the way down, then okay. After all, it's our orchestra. We can do whatever we want. Uh, but I guess all I'm saying is we don't have to have a mission statement because I think the purpose here is to just discuss that. That
Yeah.
original purpose of our very first podcast was two old friends who haven't seen each other in 40 some years,
Hmm.
you know, who
Hmm.
have different life experiences and different viewpoints
Hmm.
in a country where differing viewpoints mean you don't talk at all, and sometimes you don't even stay in your family. Um,
Mm.
you know, can we talk? And so yeah, we're going to sit here and I think the value is we're going to sit here and we're going to talk, and we're going to talk about big issues because, well, at least for me, that's fun, and little issues because they come with the big ones. Um, but it makes other people think as well, and thinking is fun. It's
Mm.
entertainment. It's why I watch podcasts. I don't watch podcasts on. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch a guy build a log cabin all day, Dennis. I don't know, something about it I find
Yeah.
very satisfying. Okay,
You
but
know that's
I
that's
also
in
watch podcasts.
now
Go ahead.
now it's AI guys
I'm
building
just
log
kidding.
cabins. They're not even real anymore.
That's right. That's exactly right. I didn't think
Yeah.
about it, but it was really, it was a prep skill. But I
Mm.
also watch podcasts on quantum mechanics just because it makes me think. So I think that's what we're providing is just you know, we're showing that people can still talk, can still disagree, and trying to get some people to think outside of their normal box. Because times are a changing, and we're going to have to be able to get along in order to solve these problems.
Yeah, and in that light, kind of finish up here. For
Yeah.
those people, I know it's rare to sit through an entire podcast, but for those that did, in light of what we're trying to do here, is feel free to mention in the comments, if this sparked an idea of your own, and maybe that could be our real contribution, Don, ultimately, is
Yeah.
not just us communicating, but others communicating, because we do have that comment box in YouTube. And
Right.
you can comment on what you thought, comment on ideas, come in with your own idea. And, I plan to stick with this. We just started this, Don, recently. But if we can stick with this and build a community of sorts, and eventually over time get more people involved, then this might actually bring something of value more than entertaining, and
Yeah.
like the old Athenian Senate, we'll have people back and forth a little bit. This is a new version of that.
Right.
Not that I'm trying to say we're that important, but at some point maybe we could add significant value.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure if we'll ever be important to what's coming, um, but the fact that we're talking is important, and the fact that we can show people we can talk is important, and the comments would be incredibly important. And if there's
Mm-hmm.
something else you'd like us to talk about, especially AI related, please,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing our best to stay up to date on, what's going on, as you can see across the realm, from how it's impacting IT all the way to how it's impacting politics. We got to be master gardeners, we'll do our best on that too.